Okay, so this recording is basically going to show how to save equipment and armor and weapon loadouts as well as item loadouts. So to basically, what is a loadout? To define what a loadout is, a loadout is basically you taking your equipment and being able to save the current configuration that you have, whether it's your armor and your weapons setup, or if it's items. And what I mean by items, I mean specifically like potions, powders, things that are going to heal you or augment, along with traps, flash bombs, tranquilizer bombs, and things like that. So let's go ahead and let's start with basically the equipment loadout. Now, to access equipment loadout, you go to your item box. It could be anywhere. It could be in Kimura Village. It could be in your room. It could be in the training area. As long as there's an area that has an item box, you can go to it and you can maintain your loadouts. So you go to item box and then right down where it says manage equipment, you go into manage equipment, and then from there you go ahead and you go into equipment loadouts. But before you do that, you want to make sure that you have the proper equipment set up. So for example, this is kind of like my default equipment loadout. So I have what they call the insurgent bow. I got my helm. I got my armor, and I also have my talisman and necklaces and everything. And so let's say this is the type of loadout. This is the configuration that I want to save so that I can always reload it whenever I need to in case I do alterations. So now that I have the configuration in place, I go to equipment loadouts, and this right here is the section that shows where the loadouts are. Okay, so to save, I'm going to go ahead and save it in a new spot. And you just pick an empty slot, or you can overwrite a current slot. It's up to you what you decide to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to overwrite this slot. To overwrite it, or to register it, I just press my X button, and then it'll ask me, do you want to save the equipment and switch skill loadout to this slot? And then I just select yes. And there it is. It's saved. And then what you can do when you review this loadout, you can see what the status is and what the stats are. First of all, you see what the loadout is, what the equipment is, over off to your immediate right. And then on the far right, under the status box, it shows you all of the equipment and what its stats and what its perks are. So if you take a look, you can press your right trigger button or your left trigger button, and it will cycle through. So it starts off with your attack status. It tells you what your weapon's attack status is, all the statistics there, and then what your armor does. All of your combined armor does with the defensive stats, what your defense is, what your elemental defense is, and so on. And then when you trigger to the right, it goes to your switch skills. It tells you what your red swap scroll switch skill is. And now these switch skills are exclusive, or the scrolls are exclusive to Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. In the standard base version of Monster Hunter Rise, I think you only have one set of switch skills that you can use, and I believe it's either the red scroll or it's the blue scroll. I don't think you get the second scroll to be able to switch your skills until you go into Sunbreak. But what I mean is this. Here's my red swap scroll. So switch skill 1 is charging sidestep. I got absolute power shot, melee, focus, and bolt boost. And then when I press my right trigger button, it goes to the second switch skill set. That's a tongue twister, isn't it? Switch skill set. So this is the blue swap scroll. So you can set your skills, your switch skills, in each scroll, and then you can switch between each scroll in the middle of a hunt in battle. So this loadout saves that configuration, and then it also gives you the status of all the skills and perks that your armor and your necklaces and your decoration has. Your decorations have in this specific loadout. So attack boost and all the other perks that are involved. So let's say, for example, that you really like this, but you don't want the loadout name to be called Loadout 17. what you can do is you can change the name of the loadout. So you do that by making sure first that it's highlighted, and you press the Y button to go into the submenu. And then it gives you the option to either rearrange it, rearrange the loadout and put it elsewhere on the list, or you can check your loadout, or you can rename it, or you can delete it. So let's go ahead and rename it. So I'm going to rename it. Let's say I want to rename it to something like, let's rename it to default. Yeah, sure, why not? So you can erase it using your keyboard, and you can rename it default, just like that. And there we go. And then you press start or your plus button, and there it is. Your loadout is now renamed to default. That covers the equipment loadout. Now, if you want to erase things and rearrange them, you can do so right over here. Okay? Okay, let's move on to the next one.